James, I'm going to say good afternoon, or is it good morning, like you're on Pacific time?
It's the afternoon here. Oh, well, it's 11:30, so it's late morning.
Can you still have coffee at this time of day, or are you cut off?
I just had breakfast and had a cup. Yes,
Okay, got it. So not
good
too
to
late in
go.
the day. Thank you for taking the time. Is the day going well aside from having to talk to fake news media, asking you the same questions over and over and over again about yourself?
This is something I was looking forward to. This
Oh,
is a high point of the day.
oh, no pressure there. So, in media
Yeah.
res, how long was that in the works for before you got to announce that you were a part of it?
Well, I kind of joined it somewhat late, but it was created by a woman named Rachel Music, who is creating these new scripted podcasts, which is such a fun format.
Hmm.
It's sort of a callback to old time radio drama and comedy for that matter. There's kind of been a revival of that form, audio narrative, in recent years. So she'd written this and started to record it, and then she offered me this role in it. And I sort of came in near the end of the recording, and then they started posting them pretty soon. So I was kind of a late addition, but happy to be in it.
So when it comes to that kind of a deal of scripted but audio
Yeah.
based, do you memorize the script or how much rehearsal is needed?
You don't. It's like any voiceover job. Like I do a fair amount of voiceovers. I was on the
Yeah.
Venture Brothers on Adult Swim for years. And basically, what I do is you just read the script beforehand. I usually read it once, maybe twice. Think about how I'm going to approach it. Then you just go into the booth, the recording studio, and you always have your script. I'm not aware any voiceover has ever expected anyone to memorize. What you do need to do is have a sort of game plan and understand how you're going to play it and what your beats are going to be. And then you sort of work with the director to do that. But that's one of the advantages to voiceover acting. You don't have to learn it by heart. You don't have to shave. You wear whatever you want to the studio. You don't have to put in a costume. It has its
Yeah.
own it has its own assets.
That's a point of fascination for me that when I was a kid watching The Wonder Years, I didn't realize like, oh, that's Daniel Stern narrating
Daniel
the whole
Stern.
thing. And I remember reading years later that he would go out of his way to dress as sloppily as he could for the sessions,
Ah,
come in
show up in his
unshaven,
bathrobe.
shorts,
Yeah.
that kind of a deal. Do you ever do that on purpose?
I haven't done that on purpose, but I you can get cash in the booth. I haven't waltzed in with my bathrobe on, but maybe I'll try that. You're giving me some ideas here, Darren.
My pleasure to be an idea person. So, was any particular prep needed for this project that normally you wouldn't have to, you know, get involved with? It's fine if the answer is no. It was a great gig and I love the people behind it.
They're actually sort of kind of. My part is sort of separate from the main story. Basically, the story of this show in media res is a fictional story.
Hmm.
In the world of this podcast, there's a James Bond type film franchise called the Jack Steller series.
Hmm.
And a la James Bond, these movies have been made for decades, since the 60s. And like James Bond, they've had different actors through the
Hmm.
years. In this story, a young actor, American guy, because it's supposed to be an American franchise, kind of like Jason
Hmm.
Bourne, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, he becomes the new Jack Steller. And then it's sort of a Hollywood story, part satire, but part sort of just look at these characters and their sort of lives about what happens to a young, not super famous guy who's suddenly put into a big Hollywood blockbuster franchise. And how does he deal with the audience's expectations? Maybe some people don't like him as a choice for this role. The people in his life, his friends, his family, now he's suddenly an important actor. And so it's
Hmm.
sort of about that trajectory. Meanwhile, there's a really fun sort of adjacent element to the series where at the end of each episode, I play a sort of NPR style music host, DJ,
Hmm.
and Rachel has created all these parodies of different songs, like a la the James Bond theme songs. We have the Jack Steller theme songs going back decades. So each theme song is from another decade. It's sort of another genre. In the 80s, there's like a new wave thing going on.
Yeah. The
So
Duran Duran style.
yeah, and
Horrible.
all there's a Shirley Bassey homage, the Goldfinger sort
Yeah.
of parody. And I sort of introduced these, and a la a public radio host, I have a lot of information about this stuff. So I'm telling you about the making of these imaginary records, which is super fun. And I'm a film geek, and I was watching an old movie on a Criterion Channel, and sometimes they have commentaries. So there was like a film scholar doing a commentary on, I think it was Throne of Blood, Kurosawa's movie from the 50s, Japanese movie. And this guy was an American guy. He was very enthusiastic and a little nerdy, which is what you want in a commentator. And I was listening to this like the week before I recorded, and I thought, this is the energy. So I sort of found influence, which got into my mind. And then I sort of looked at the script and thought about sort of that guy's approach and his cadences as just sort of a jumping off point. So that was sort of my preparation. But it's fun as an actor, whatever you're doing, it's fun to sort of prepare and start to think about ideas, influences. And then once you get to a set, either a film or TV set or a recording studio, you're then collaborating with the director. So your ideas are sort of set against the director's feelings. And usually that's a happy collaboration. You have a kind of give and take.
Sure.
And you figure out how you're going to perform it. But this was really fun. And I'm a big fan of radio. I used to listen to a lot of radio when I was young, and sort of broadcast or DJ traditions. So it's kind of fun to play a guy who does that. I've never done that professionally, although I was a college DJ briefly.
I heard a rumor, and I'm not putting you on the spot here, but I heard a rumor that you may have a David Bowie impression in your arsenal, which I'm not asking you to do, but you're a music guy.
Well, I'm into all different kinds of music. Like, and I was born in '63, so I was sort of a young person in the '80s, and I was very into what you'd now call sort of the alt sound of that era. So, Talking Heads, Elvis Costello, early REM, all that kind of stuff. Prince, of course. It wasn't really alt, but was so idiosyncratic and unique. And I do Bowie. On the Venture Brothers, there's a joke where Bowie is a sort of peripheral character. Bowie's involved in the goings-on of that universe. And I think my Bowie got better through the years. I'll do a little Bowie for you. So what I realized, so Bowie's from London. He has kind of a London accent. And what I figured out is you start with Bob Hoskins, the great late character actor, most famous for playing the main guy in Who Killed Roger Rabbit, where he does an American accent. But, or Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The book and the movie have different titles. Anyway, but if you watch some of Bob Hoskins' other movies, like his British movies, he's got a classic Cockney accent, a kind of working class London accent. And he's got a little rasp in his voice. So Bob Hoskins, I'm getting to Bowie. You gotta stay with me here.
No, you're
Bob
interesting.
Hoskins
I like the sidebars. Take the compliment.
Bob Hoskins sort of talks like this. Right, I'm Bob Hoskins, and we're gonna go down to Charing Cross Road and take care of business. Now, you zhuzh that up a little. You make it a little more, I don't know, you just refine it a little. You kind of sand it. You kind of burnish it a little. You make it a little more pop, let's say, just a little bit. So you got that, but then you sort of smooth it out. Maybe he's a little bit more posh, a little more sophisticated. And then suddenly you've got that thing in the little bit of a rasp, and then you've got Bowie. I'm going to go on tour. I love saying the word tour, this Bowie. I'm going to go on tour with the new album. So that was it. It's like it's a zhuzhed up Bob Hoskins. That's my secret. It works for me. But I've always loved Bowie. As so many of us did. So it was so fun to do a sort of homage to David on the show.
When you think about it, not too far off from Nigel Tufnell from Spinal Tap.
No, I mean, that is the gold standard of American guys doing British accents. They're all killer. It's incredible.
But
Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, yeah.
but back to you here, because this is the James show still. So your
Sure.
career is fascinating, where you made an excellent transition from on camera to voice. And I'm wondering when you knew that keeping in mind that you were still on camera and appearing in plenty of things, but when you kind of realized that that was an option for a career path, or is it all just a happy accident?
It was kind of an accident. I mean, the funny thing is, well, I started out in New York City doing theater, what you call off Broadway,
Hmm.
downtown, which just means a lot of great, really creative, talented people doing that, but not a lot of money there. Everyone's just doing it for the love of it. Talking about music, it kind of felt like being in a band. Like it was just a very collaborative thing, and it was very accessible. You'd see a play downtown, you could meet the cast and director afterward. It wasn't like Broadway where there's a whole sort of chain that you have to get through. In
Right.
this, it was very accessible. Hey, I liked you in that show. You want to be in our show, and that kind of thing. So I kind of came up in that. And then slowly but surely, after being in New York for a few years and always working a day job, by the way, I got some opportunities to start to make money acting. So, and I had a friend who was an actor who had gotten a voiceover agent and was doing pretty well. And he ended up introducing me to his agent, and that guy started sending me out on the voiceover circuit in New York. This guy just took a shine to me for some reason. I didn't have any experience doing voiceovers, but this guy just liked me. And then again, slowly but surely, after like about a year of auditioning, maybe once or twice a week at first, then a little more, I used to keep a little notebook of my voiceover auditions when I started doing that.
Hmm.
Auditioning for everything, by the way, sometimes for cartoons, often for commercials, radio commercials, animated commercials, whatever. Uh, I did about 50 auditions and I booked my first one, which was for a regional computer store in Washington, D.C.
Hmm.
And then from that, I started booking a little more and a little more. And then adjacent to that, I was old friends with a great guy named Bob Sikoriak, who is a cartoonist, professional cartoonist. He's published his own comics and he's done illustration. He's done covers for the New Yorker. He's a very successful cartoonist artist.
Sure.
And through Bob, I met all these other cartoonist and animation people. And Jackson Public, who created the Venture Brothers, was one of those people. So
Hmm.
this was outside of having an agent and being on the professional circuit. This was the other thing where my jobs come from, just meeting people, becoming friends, and then working with them. So just through luck, I met Jackson through my friend Bob. We ended up becoming sort of friendly acquaintances. And then when he was developing the pilot for the Venture Brothers, he just asked me to do it. And then, lo and behold, that became a very successful, albeit cult show. Not everyone knows about it. In my experience, Darren, people either have never heard of the Venture Brothers or they love it. There's almost no in between.
Yeah. Well, to add to what you're
So
saying,
that track
oh,
happened. Yeah, no,
it's
I'm
just
just saying, so that's so I sort of fell into the Venture Brothers, which became my most well-known voiceover job, just because I knew a guy who knew a guy. Never auditioned, didn't go through an agent. And that's sort of the way my career goes. People I know or people hiring me through traditional auditioning and, agents and stuff.
so to recap what I just heard, theater, low end theater person working a day job, to
Yes.
organically falling into the voiceover world, to not quitting and landing some stuff that led to some other stuff, but then organically being friends with people and then leading to other stuff. So there isn't a clear cut, you audition for everything, or you're friends with everybody, or you're a Nepo baby. It's a very hard, non-linear career path. So in Media Res is the new project that you had to wait a little bit for it to come out, but are we allowed to know what's coming up for you next otherwise?
Oh, sure. I mean, I last season I had a recurring part on an Apple Plus show called Palm Royale with Kristen Wiig. It's a comedy series. set in the
Hmm.
1960s in Palm Beach. Kristen Wiig plays a sort of social climber. And we're just wrapping season 2. And they even gave me a little more to do this season, which is awesome. Also, last season, my character is sort of the manager of a country club. And when I got the scripts, he was called Club Manager. And this year they gave him a name. So I feel like I'm landing even more in that show. Um, and then
Well,
there's like a
yeah.
bunch of, there's been the last couple of years, I've done a bunch of interesting independent films, which are in various stages of post-production. So some of them will be like on the festival circuit soon. Some of them will probably be coming out within the next year or so. Uh, but a movie called Grind, which is a kind of comic horror movie. A great movie called Putty Sticks, directed by a woman and starring a woman named Megan Seeley, which is a
Hmm.
sort of satirical comedy about a young woman in LA,
Hmm.
where I play her sort of boss from hell. Uh, and uh, and then there's an independent film that's actually out and available to stream now called Breakup Season that I'm very proud of, which is a sort of comedy drama about a family. And I played the father of some young adult children. And my son brings a girl home for Christmas. And we're like, hey, great to meet you. And then the girl breaks up with the guy while she's there for Christmas with the family. And then there's a snowstorm and she's stuck there. And so it's about what happens to these people where this in this uncomfortable situation. Directed by a guy named Nelson Tracy. So yeah, I've kind of fallen into doing this. I had a little streak of low budget movies that are all kind of interesting. So those will be coming out. And yeah, something always pops up, fortunately.
The thing that you just mentioned about being the club manager who just had club manager and then got the name and the role, that kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of how on 90210, how Nat became a character out of nowhere on the Peach Pit.
I
Do you
never
recall
watched
that at all?
90210. But that can happen on TV, where a sort of peripheral character. The one that every actor thinks about is when Kelsey Grammer came in to play Frasier on Cheers. He had a name, Frasier, but it was just a one-off. It was supposed to be one episode. And then they were like, this guy's really funny and people like this character. And then he made a whole career out of that character. So you never know what's going to
You
happen.
never know. And one last question, and that's what's the main hobby or passion when you're not busy with work? That you're kind of a
Oh
mystery
man.
in some ways all these years later.
Well, I got to tell you, I when I'm not working, I'm still sort of thinking about work because I love actors and I love movies, and I'm super into old films. So, like I said, I was watching a guy doing a commentary on the Criterion Channel. So I spent a lot of time watching old movies. I got a lot of inspiration out of those, like classic Hollywood movies, foreign movies, movies from like the early 20th century, the 30s, the 40s. I spent a lot of time watching that stuff, and that is sort of my main hobby. I don't do any woodworking. I'm not a golfer. I'm sort of a nerd who likes to watch old stuff. And then I do have a little sideline where I have a writing partner named Bree Williams, and we have also written our own scripted podcasts. And that's not a full-time thing for me, but I really enjoy writing, and we're actually working on a new script. Uh, so that's another sort of thing on the side that I enjoy very much.
Super Ego, was that one of them back in the day?
Super Ego was not my own show, but that was a really brilliant improvised podcast. It's actually not scripted. They come up with premises and then they improvise and then they edit it. But those guys are friends of mine, and I was a guest on a couple of their shows. I don't have I don't have training in improv or uh, comedy per se, but I like that stuff, and I'm a reasonably good amateur improviser. So
Yes, and
sometimes people
yep.
who are better than me at that bring me in, and I feel supported by the people who are better than me, and I acquit myself okay. So I've in fact I did Bowie on Super Ego. I did my Bowie impression on a Super Ego episode. That's my go-to piece that I pull out now and then. You know, I'll just do Bowie for you.
Well, James, thank you for the decades of great art. Looking forward to what's to come,
Ah,
whether you're on camera or not, or just writing
yeah.
the stuff, whatever it is. Thank you for your time and looking forward to what's to come.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Paltrow.